Please read the disclaimer. Oh no. Oh dear. Why are we here? Hello guys, I'm Bio. Oh, this music is definitely fitting. Definitely somber and sad. Exactly what we need when we're looking at someone like this. Some developer like this. So, you remember Brain in the Jar, right? And you remember how I looked at some Brain in the Jar games in the past, right? Well, there was a particular set of games that I purposely missed because I thought it'd be interesting to look at them as a whole. And that is the Maximum Racing series. Now, in Europe, they were not released under this title, they were just released individually. But in America, they were released under this Maximum Racing label. And so they should be, because they were all developed, well, they're all games developed by Brain in a Jar, which, as you well know, are a terrible video game developer. And they are terrible. I can at least sit here now with confidence and go, I have tried games from so many budget shit developers that I can honestly say now that Brain in the Jar is a terrible developer. They are a terrible developer because they settled for going for games that basically had no passion or anything with them. They used the same driving mechanics and just changed the car model every single time. That's all they did. There was no passion whatsoever in the games they developed. But it turns out, right, and this is just a theory of mine, it probably is shown to be true online anyway. Probably someone out there has realized and or found out or done more research. I think Maximum Family Games, who are the publishers of this, by the way, it was published by Nordic Games Publishing in Europe. In America, it was published by Maximum Family Games. Makes sense for Maximum Racing. I personally believe, right, these are ported versions of their previous games. This is a ported version of, was it Golden Age of Racing? Wasn't there one called Golden Age of Racing that Brain in a Jar did? I swear that this is a port of that game, pretty much. And every single game we're looking at, one of the games we're going to be looking at in this set is called Super Trucks. You know that's going to be a port of a particular game, don't you? But I thought, why not? We'll take another look at Brain in the Jar. We'll have a look at these racing games. We're going to be looking at them as a random, not as a big video, just random, separate games. Starting, and we're going to try and do them in order of how they got released. Pretty much every single one of these games came out in 2010 in Europe, with the exception of 2. With them coming out then a year later in America under the Maximum Racing moniker. So this game came out in America on March 2011. And like I said, you'll find that a lot of these games came out very close to each other. And again, they are just ports, pretty much ports. So the first game we're going to be looking at is Maximum Racing GP Classic Racing, which I personally believe, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to bring up Brain in a Jar for every single time we look at one of these games and try and figure out what game is it a port of. I personally believe that this is a port of Golden Age of Racing, which originally came out in September 2005 for the PlayStation 2. That's what I personally believe this is. I'm going to lock that in as my answer, and we're going to try this game. Obviously, it being a Wii game, it's going to use motion controls, which is fantastic, isn't it? At the end of the day. That would help, wouldn't it? There we go. Didn't even have I set the sensor bar up, but didn't plug it in. What a surprise. Ah, yes. You want me to put my name in. Let me guess. If I do this... Player B, of course. Player buy. Yeah, it will be buy. Why not? Hit for both sides. Why not? I don't know. Well, yeah, it's set up the exact same way. It's just shitty fucking. It's just the same typical bullshit that you expect from Brain in a Jar. The menu is the same, pretty much everything. You know, you have the options of challenges, races, or championships, with none of them being really too different. Let's do a race, right? Oh, this is fantastic. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, we'll do that. Then, yeah, sure, why not? Difficulty normal. Go. Oh, now we need the nunchuck, apparently. Oh, okay. Again, the back of the box for these games is not on game FAQs, so I wouldn't know. Why do we need the nunchuck? I'm a bit confused by that. What wouldn't we? I don't know. Oh. So A is not go. Okay. I'd like to remind you that this game came bundled in Europe with. Oh yes, very good. This game came bundled in Europe with a steering wheel, which leads me to believe that this game uses motion controls, and yet it asked me to connect to nunchuck, and basically I'm controlling the turning with the analog stick on the nunchuck. Alright, there is a drift. Of course there is. Again, you wouldn't think this... You wouldn't be drifting, because again, this is literally us driving in these old cars. They don't turn very well. It makes sense that they don't turn very well. But they don't drift either. Them drifting, they don't drift. It's not something that these cars do. Oh god, this is terrible. So, okay, just to give you an idea, the Z button is accelerate, the B button is reverse, the C button is brake. What horrific controls! These are terrible controls. These are very, very bad controls for a racing game. Here I was, expecting motion controls. There was nothing to suggest, was there? There was nothing to suggest. They basically made the... Okay, let me finish my first point. So there was nothing to suggest changing for motion controls. I would like to also point out, like, after you get past the normal Nintendo Wii, make sure you have the wrist strap on and you're holding the Wii remote and the Wii remote's connected. You know that fucking bullshit that Nintendo puts at the beginning, that attention screen? Make sure you're in a space, a wide enough space to play, blah, 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 right? It then comes up saying how to put the Wii remote in the steering wheel, etc., right? Oh yes, let's spin out. Yeah, it then comes up and tells you that before it then goes to the title cards, starting with obviously maximum, maximum family games or whatever. Yeah. Oh god, the controls in this are terrible. The physics the car has is absolutely atrocious. It does not feel very well. Like I don't know how Brain in the Jar were able to develop such a poorly made racing game. Like, quite seriously, I struggle with the controls mainly here because it's such a weird setup. It's such a strange setup. What? Like, why? What? Like, if you're not going to implement motion controls, or if there is some kind of weird thing you've got to do, maybe go to the options menu to enable them, which is just fucking stupid, right? You have motion controls enabled on the main menu for the fucking cursor. Would you not have it so that at least you can just use one Wii remote to control the car? Yeah, literally. The 2 button can be accelerate. The 2 buttons accelerate. The 1 button's brake. The B button could be reverse. Like I said, you could quite easily make it so that you could only have to use the Wii remote if you're not, you know. But no, no, no. We have to use the nunchuck. Either that or the nunchuck's a default. We'll have a look in the options to see if we can change anything. But the game kind of leads you to believe that there is going to be motion controls to then have, like, not... Yes, there is motion controls, or there are pointing controls, at least on the main menu, to then not have any kind of motion controls while you're actually playing the game. As you can see, I am trying to do... I am trying to get used to this racing controls. It's difficult. I also like to point out that my right hand is literally just rested on my the arm of my computer chair, doing absolute sweet fuck all in this regard. Why? Because I'm using the nunchuck. The nunchuck steers, the nunchuck accelerates, and the nunchuck brakes. There is literally no point for me to use the Wii remote whatsoever while playing this. Literally no reason. It's so weird. It's such a weird control scheme. I've never played a racing game that controls quite like this. What a weird control scheme. Also, how many laps have I got to do in this stupid game? I remember with Brain in a Jar games, they have the lap count be stupidly high, just a pad. And you know they do that just the pad, because their race courses are bland, basic, and fucking have no inspiration. Like, pretty much the entirety of this course is trees. It quite literally is. What have I got to look at? I've got to look at PNG fucking trees, is what I've got to look at. And you know that's what they are. You know, the trunk might be a 3D modeled object. Let's actually have a look. Is the trunk a 3D? It's hard to say. I will go out on a limb and say that the trunk is a 3D modeled object. It does look like it. At least it gives that illusion. But the leaves are a PNG object, of course. And they're not even a very good looking PNG object. Like, there's nothing to look at. There's nothing nice to look at. One of the key things with racing games, in my opinion, is not just... there's a lot of things you've got to do. Oh, cool. Oh, we flipped it. What do I do? What do I do now? I flip the car, boys. Is this even something that you can do? Oh, okay, that's pause. Alright, so minus resets the car. Can I do that anytime? And for some reason, it allowed me to restart. I don't know. Yeah, my Wii remote like rumbled for a second there for some reason. Fuck knows why. But the controls are terrible. This is like the braking everything. But then again, it feels so foreign playing this because of how I'm playing it. The control scheme, like, do developers not realize that if you make a game with a really weird fucking control scheme, it's gonna hamper players. Okay, we're now on the final lap, so 6 laps. We might as well finish this lap, right? Fuck knows where the other races are. I ain't gonna catch up with them. At this point, we're just, you know, playing around. Oh, so horrific. And I like to remind you, I'm going to cement my answer. Every game that we play is going to be like this. Every single game is going to control this poorly and have very similar control, even though we've got a completely different type of vehicle. Because literally, they reskin. They slightly change the track design and they reskin the fucking cars. That's what they do. That's what Brain in a Jar does. They're a terrible developer. You know, I'm pretty sure I've done a video on them. I was thinking to myself, have I actually done a big video on Brain in a Jar? Because I should have. And I think I have. I just don't... They just had that little of an impact on me. No, I remember. So no, I haven't done a big video on Brain in a Jar. I did it as a randoms before I started doing big videos on stuff. So I have already talked about them. I've already looked into them. But this is all they did, is make racing games. Make these terrible fucking racing games. There was one racing game I played. There we go. Race over. There was one racing game I played where I thought, it's reasonable. It is a budget racing game that works. This feels like a racing game with no effort put in. No effort. Like, the car model looks slightly... You know, the car model... Look at the car model. It looks nice for the Nintendo Wii, don't get me wrong. But it's a basic-looking car model. I ain't doing any more races, by the way. I don't even need the cursor. I can use the... Okay, I can use the D-pad. Okay, let's go to the main menu. Let's go to options. And I want to see controls. I want to see whether or not we can use... Okay, so control type 1. So this is the control... I love how it's showing a picture. So it can actually show you how fucking stupid this control scheme is. I don't even have to explain it. It shows it. Fantastic. So what's the other one? So we have... Okay. I want to use... I like to point out that the default control scheme requires a nunchuck. Right, I'm going to now go back to options a second. I'm going to go to controls. Okay. Just to confirm that that's been selected, I'm now going to go to one player. I'm going to go to race. We're going to do one lap with the motion controls. That's all we're going to do. Oh no, that car... we'll go there. I'm now gonna unplug my nunchuck because we technically don't need it anymore. Here we go. And we're gonna use the motion controls. Oh, yep, the motion controls are working. Oh yes, fuck yeah, destroy him off the track. Yes, here we go. Yes, yes, yes. Boah! Yes. Fantabby-dozy. Oh, 1 is reverse. I thought B was reverse. Okay, my mistake. Oh, one of my wheels is now really wobbly. Is there a reason for that? Don't tell me there's actual car damage. Either that or I've just fucked up the physics for this car. So yeah, the motion controls are about as good as you'd expect for a Wii game. There ain't no fucking Mario Kart Wii levels of quality. Because that's... See, the one thing I will contest is Mario Kart Wii was a really good game, and the motion controls actually worked very well for that. But this is Nintendo using real software. This is Nintendo using actual real software. Also, they fucked up the controls quite badly. With the motion control. For one thing, brake is B. I remember, brake is B, and 1 is reverse, where B should be reverse and 1 should be brake. Because then you could drift quite effectively having 1 be brake instead of it being reverse. So yeah, the controls in terms of purity fuels, of course. So yes, the motion controls, can't even be bothered to finish this lap. The motion controls work for the most part, but still it's a terrible game. They work for the most part. That's all I can really say when it comes to the motion controls. They work. Are they good? Not really, as they is with pretty much every single. But it's weird how the default control scheme requires a nunchuck. Like, you don't need a nunchuck. Like, quite literally, you telling me they couldn't program the D-pad on the fucking Wii remote to be what you use to steer the car, like a lot of games did? Very strange. But yeah, there we go. I'm not going to play any more of Maximum Racing GP Classic Racing. Pretty much, this is what you're gonna see from this random series. Every single game I have a feeling is going to be like this. But we must, in the pursuit for shitty games, we must prevail. We must continue. We must continue on looking at these absolutely atrocious games and how bland and boring they are. Again, if you say, "Oh wow, you're being a bit hard on this game because it works," yeah, it works, but that's it. There's nothing going on in this game. There's nothing. Quite literally, there is nothing going on in this game. You're telling me that there isn't another racing game out there in 2000? Let's go with the European release date, 2010, that you would rather play than this? Exactly. Then you realize, why does this exist? It exists to be a budget game to make money, for someone to pick it up by accident and get it for their child. That's what this game exists for. And even then, when you look at it from that perspective, you think, couldn't they put in a little bit more effort? Couldn't they put in a little bit more effort to make the track design a little bit more interesting? Like, what's stopping them, right, from having it be that I don't know, you're playing in like, let's have a Halloween themed racer. The one thing I can say about Data Design Interactive, even though their games fundamentally play like dog shit, at least they tried to make interesting games. Ninja Bread Man, fucking, was it? What's that fucking? I can't remember the other name. Toy Town or whatever the fuck it's called. Then you've got but you've got stuff like Living World Racing and stuff like this. At least for the most part, they try to make games with interesting concepts. It's just too bad that they didn't have Brain in a Jar's level of racing controls. Because if they did, for like to say Living World Racing, you'd actually somewhat think, oh, this is an okay budget racer. Whereas Brain in the Jar has the level of skill to make a somewhat decent racing game. It has no passion. It has no identity. That's a perfect way to put it. This game has no identity. There's nothing. What can you say about this game makes it stand out over other racing games? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Not even the controls, because the controls aren't even that good. It's a budget racing game with no identity. And that is the reason why I will then take the game, put it to one side, and call it a piece of fucking shit. Because it deserves it. Anyway, sorry about that little rant. I just wanted to make a point. If you ever hear me call games shit and you think, wow, that game didn't look that shit, that's the reason I call it shit. Because there's nothing. There's no identity. Nothing. It's budget, bland, boring. And let's be honest, they charged 20 quid for this. Because that's how much budget games went for in the UK. It was 20 quid. Would you pay 20 quid for this nowadays? Fuck would you? You can get a fucking better. You could get 4 games on Steam for a fiver that have better quality than this game. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Anyway, I've been Bio. Thanks for watching. Look forward to more shitty Maximum Racing Brain in the Jar bollocks. Bye bye.